Hello, good night, good night, good night.
Class, let's start it. Link him up in the class.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, cool.
Good night, Ron. You can hear? Ron, can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, good. I'll be right here. Yep, I'm here.
All right, good night. How everybody doing out there? Oh, there we go. Okay, good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. We are live and direct. Let me tell you something. This work is it's interesting. Okay, so let me just say good night to everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. With this 30 to 90 minutes of fatherhoods, having intellectual conversations about fathers, for fathers, by fathers. Try to always keep that in the forefront of everything that we do. Make sure people know that we are we are here. We are here for a very interesting show tonight. Let me just quickly let the fathers of the night introduce themselves, and then we're gonna get started because we got a little back drop, a little back time is starting, but we'll make up for it towards the end of the flight. Come on in, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Good evening, fathers, and everyone who's watching this program. I'm a father of 2 young adults. I'm going through the journey of dealing with 2 young ladies and the challenges, and it's always a pleasure to share knowledge on this program to assist other fathers and other folks who want to grow.
So tonight, gentlemen, I want to welcome you guys. Tonight, we are going to be having an interesting conversation, one that at some point really doesn't, I guess at some point have anything to do with us, but in many instances can have something to do with us. So the nice topic is, Rohan, you picked the nice topic, didn't you?
Yes, I brought it to.
You brought that to our attention.
Yes.
Tonight's topic is consequences / benefits of not having children, and that's a very interesting conversation for us to have, being that we are the Fatherhood Think Tank. But I think it's one that is worth having and one to really consider because on one of the, and I'll just throw this out, on one of the not on the memes, but on one of the advertisements I sent out, there was I was looking for a father versus fatherless versus father, and the audio that came up was Kevin Samuels talking to a lady saying if men don't want to do something, blah blah blah, they shouldn't be going around impregnating all these women. and it's so funny because then his response was he started running off his statistics, about how many men are single and how many men are single and happy and that, this kind of thing. And so that the percentage was of men who didn't have children, who were single and what have you, was maybe higher than the ones who are, if they weren't, they were happily married with their children and their wife. So you kind of throwing that disparity off. So I'm thinking of this, and I'm thinking of a question to ask. And this is going to be hypothetical out the way, but what would you be doing as a father? As you guys have been drenched in fatherhood for almost over a decade. Almost like, bro, you might be going on 2 decades, right? So. Almost getting close to 3, 3 decades, right? What would you have been doing? What would you be doing if you was not a father? If you didn't become a father, what would that have looked like? What would that look like? What would you have been doing? Where would you have been? Where do you see yourself, and what do you kind of vision that would have been happening if you was not a father?
Well, I think everything happens for a reason. And so because of that, I think every human being, and this goes for women, children, or whatever the case may be, we have a innate selfishness, right? that we're just born with, or just a natural selfishness that we're born with. And so, because as that developed over time, um, if the society, or you condition yourself, rather, let's just say what you condition yourself, because I guess I had just as much exposure to good as I did to bad, and I conditioned myself in the bad, particularly when it came to the opposite sex, and so which means I craved them in an unhealthy way. Um, what having a child did, it 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 bridged the gap between my craving and my caring, right? And so, and not so much just for the child, but my when I say my craving and my caring, I mean my craving and my caring towards women, because now I had to look at women in a different light when I had to look at a woman that I was craving, who's now caring for my child. You understand? So now I get to see her and be conditioned to her in a different light by the way she's catering to my child. Not so much catering to me, but catering to my child. She could have treated me like the world. You understand? But the craving would have never allowed me individually, without that child, to actually take a class on the caring that I need to really move forward in understanding on caring about women. Number one is equals, and number two, as the proprietors of our children. And so I think it changed me in that so more. And then one change begets another change. So you got to understand, with every change and with every lesson and with every education comes what they call it, progress. Because we don't see progress. And I'm going to be honest with you, progress is never taught in an ethical sense. It's always in an ethical sense. It's always taught in an economic sense. And progress is not just limited to the economics. It's also an ethical equity. And so once I started to learn something, I think most men, we are deprived when it comes to ethical or moral equity than we are when it comes to economic equity. This is why we're big advocates of either anti-child support than we are child. You understand? We can use the child support to play like, and I mean, there's a certain percentage that would say, they got child support. I'm like, what about your child? And then what does advocating for your child look like versus the child support? And we'll push against child support, but we don't have no real narratives about how to be pro-child. You understand? Mm-hmm. So we're more anti-child support than we are pro-child. And so because of that, and because I put myself in that reconditioning space with my child, I was able to learn about his mother more with that child, or learn about a woman more with that child than I did without a child. And so not only that, and that's when it changed my life. So we say oftentimes that the child saved my life, but I'm like, the truth of the matter is the child changed my life. You understand? And that's what it was for me. So I'm still on that learning journey. My child may remember what it was to be a child, because I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody had that status and that priority when it came to my mom. You understand? And I could not figure out, when did that separation happen? Like, wow, I remember how I felt about my mom. I was ready to give it all about her. You understand? But don't feel the same. And then I'm trying to figure out the separation between willing to die for my mom, you understand, and the way I loved her, versus why am I so careless and carefree when it comes to the mother of my child. So I couldn't make the try to figure out what a separation have, when I should have learned how to value the mother of my child even more, right? Because I value my own mother. And so I had to practice in valuing my mom. Notice that. It's amazing how you condition to value your mom, but you're not conditioned to value the mother of your child. So I couldn't figure out that disconnect. And I think having that child helped me to connect that disconnect. And that was pretty much my experience when it became, and still my experience when it comes to fatherhood. There was so many levels to that and layers to it that I'll talk about once we finish and expand this conversation.
If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Ron mentioned, what would be doing if we didn't have children? And I always go history, present, and future. And if I go back in history, I'm also I'm from a divorce parents, and they were a young couple, and they had their challenges. And I've always wanted to do better than my parents with my children. So I can say clearly the goal was I was told for societal expectations to get a wife, start a family. That's something you hear every day. Your friends are married, or who got kids. But to be honest, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have children. Well, if I did not have children, what would I be doing with my time? Because I've always been focused on family. So that's a question I really can't answer. Because if I'm being focused on family and having children, it's up in the air what I would be doing if I didn't have family. However, having family did align me, did put me in some uncomfortable places, work 2 jobs, trying to make sure that the kids had something to eat and try to be there for them. So it's a learning curve.
Right.
You're learning as you go. You align yourself with folks who can assist you, who can help you raise your children into young adults, which is another part of the journey. And that's the way I look at that. I mean, any regrets? No, not really. Could it have been better? Yes. Could it have been worse? Yes. So you do the best you can and keep moving. That's the way I look at that when it comes to raising children.
I think I see that brother Ed is here. I'm waiting to let him get ready, get himself together to get in. So I asked this question in the meantime. Rohan, you say something very powerful because you said something, and I think this is so important to, what I've always said in my research, even my doctoral research, is that, non-consensual fatherhood occurs for a lot of people for men who are not looking to really first even be in a serious relationship yet, less known, have children, right? Versus what you just said is that you was already looking for family. So you got married to your wife and you guys made the choice to have children. This wasn't something that, like we see in a lot of cases, you have, and I'm gonna be very, very straight. You have sex with someone, a female, a woman, a girlfriend, a sneaky link, whoever that may be, and you end up even with your wife, because maybe sometimes you can even have sex with your wife, and the plan was not to have a child yet, or you weren't thinking you're ready to have a child, and you had the child, and it kind of turns into this thing where the man wasn't ready. He hadn't made the commitment to do so. And a lot of people, have a lot of issues and concerns about men in their commitment to things. But I think that there's a very strong understanding that when men make the commitment to be at first point, a lot of times when they make the commitment to be a husband, that's why when we look at divorce rates, the men are not the one getting divorced because they a lot of times made that commitment to be in that relationship. And then they made the commitment to most of the time to be married so they can be a father to their children. There's a lot of men out here, and fathers, and they're fathers, but they're not the fathers they want to be because they're not being able to be the men they want to be to their children. They're a father, but not the father they want to be. And sometimes that comes back to kind of our topic, the benefit of not getting yourself caught up in that and being able to make the choice for yourself with the right woman that you want to make it with, being able to, I think that a lot of times people don't think about this, but there is some traditional things that happen. You look at relationships and people getting relationships like, maybe, you got to be engaged for a certain amount of time. Then you got to be married for a certain amount of time. But a lot of times what we kind of see is this thing where babies are coming. Well, engagements are coming because of babies. Let me say that. Mm-hmm. babies are coming because of engagements, and then marriages, babies are a lot of time already here. So you're just making this child a, by what you say in your terms, legitimate child, not out of wedlock, out of family, or what have you. And I think that doing that because you're ready and you want to is different from doing it because you're concerned about how the society looks, how people look. And I do have a few statistics, but I'm gonna wait to see if I can get Ed in here to introduce himself, and I'm gonna share some of the ideas based on this topic, some of the consequences and some of the benefits. Maybe Ed's just.
Good morning. Good evening, gentlemen. Sorry about being late. I'm actually just arriving to Fort Lauderdale from visiting my daughter in KC. So I'm probably going to have limited access. But yeah, this is Ed Tenney, single dad, father of 3, and I'll just be listening. So you guys carry on.
All right, great. Thanks, Ed. Ed, I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice about the enjoyment of that time. And these are I think a lot of people don't think about this. They really don't spark that. These kind of things is when you're around dads and you can hear the energy before Ed was saying he was going to go see his daughter, and now he's coming back, and you can, you really hear it. Sounds like you got renewed and refreshed. And I say to people very often, these are the kind of things that can refresh you. These are the things that can renew you. Your children can put the battery in your back to renew you, and you can inspire them to do great things from being around. So it's a very transactional, and people don't like to use that word, but I think sometimes when you're looking at the transactional part of it, it's a developmental transactionalism, not financial. And so it's not like, oh, dad's here, pay your rent, and it's really getting the opportunity to provide, to do what we like to do. Men like to protect and provide. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel strong. It makes you feel worthy as a man. And when you're able to do that for your family and for your kids, it's no greater, as I would say, no greater drug that you could ever have. But it also can, we also see the other side of that. So thanks, Ed, for getting in here and just letting us know. I figured that if I don't see you on the camera, I know you was just, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't, how you was. Welcome back to Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm waiting on my Uber right now. I figured I'd just jump in here real quick. I was just so happy to be able to serve my daughter. She was having some flooring done, and she didn't want to be dealing with the contractor all by herself because she's single and in Kansas City doing her student pastor thing. And she called out for her daddy, and I couldn't say no to that. So we just had a great time of bonding, recommitting each other, all that kind of good stuff. And I was just so glad to be able to help her in this situation. And since you guys are talking about, the consequences of having children and not having children, just to be able to be there for her, man, it was just an awesome thing, man. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And I think that testimony that Ed just gave us is cash. When you talk about cash in the bank, like the money in the bank of what we're talking about, how important and understanding fatherhood is, not just to be able to give it, to your children, but also to be the one to receive it. Because a lot of times when we talk about this fatherhood and we talk about it, people are always looking at it. What the father doing? Where he at? Blah, 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 blah. And then I think sometimes they're forgetting that. And I sometimes have to share with them is, you ever see how moms and kids react with each other? Like the moms need their kids, right? They need them, and they have a certain kind of relationship. That is not just for moms and dads. That's parents in general. So that's why I like to use the word parents most of the time, because a parent could be anybody, the mom or the dad, but that parent-child relationship is one that is quintessential to the development of both the child and the parent. And only issue that people sometimes don't recognize is that fathers are parents one way and mothers are parents another way. That's about it. That's the only difference in that, and I think that and sometimes people think that the parent should parent the same. A parent should parent the same. Well, parents don't parent the same. They parent different. The key is that they are parenting, and so that's a big part of that. And I think that here's a consequence of not having children. You don't get an opportunity to ever do any of that. There's a whole bunch of people doing it, but they're doing it with a dog called Toto or TT or Sparklight, the little dog they got in the house, and my dog has some cum, baby. Let me feed you. That's not the same thing. And sometimes people start equating that, only children I got is these dogs, or these cats, or this gerbil and hamster. It's not the same thing, because when you get to a certain age, when you want to have a conversation with another male or another female, or have a conversation as a male with a female, or as a female with a male, and that person has the same genotype as you, who can think the same way you think, it's an awesome conversation. I can speak truth to facts about it. I've been able to have that I'm blessed in my life to have had that with both of my parents, to have a moment to be. Now, that doesn't mean we always agreed on everything and we seen things the same way, but having that conversation where that at some point of a conversation you're having, you guys have something very rooted in the same seed, and it is a very warming thing. You're not gonna have that with Spud, bro. Spud might come and snuggle up with you in the bed. Susie K might come and rub the fur on the back of your neck while you're sitting on the couch, but you're not gonna have that seeded development that you need to have, that you can have between parent and child, and vice versa. So I just put that in place. So that's a big consequence, man, to lose that interconnectivity. And there's some people say they don't need it. They're good with. I got a really good friend. Really good friend. She said she's allergic to children, and I say, hey, well, I guess so. But I'm so in love with children. I changed my whole life and came back to working with kids just to be with, because it's something about them. It's something about them, man. So.
But Ron, fathers, we talk about trends, right? You know the word trends, right? Trends is something that, MC Hammer, what was it? MC Hammer had that, you remember MC Hammer, he had that pants? That was at a time where everyone would dance and everybody would buy the pants. MC Hammer had that pants, right?
I had some of them.
Okay, here we go. So how long will this trend last? We let's go into the smoke and the fire. We know that most people today you talk to tell you, I don't want kids. You ask, why you don't want kids? Well, I can't afford kids. That's the first thing, right? I don't want no children. I can't afford kids. I have 2 dogs. I'm set. Then you ask the next question.
So hold on. See, you was going good, Ron, until you said you can't afford kids, but you got 2 dogs.
Right.
Dogs are way more expensive than kids, man.
Yeah, but the dogs are the pets. Let me not use the word dogs.
All right,
Let's
go
say
on.
pets. So I asked her, "You have two pets," and I said to her, she's had a bad relationship, so she chose that route. So pretty much most pets, in my opinion, are dependent on you. Meaning, you come home, they wag the tail, they're happy to see you. They can't talk. You feed them, and they come around you as you mentioned and lay beside you, and they're in needing of your comfort. But I've always said, if that pet could talk and use a cell phone, and when you came home, that pet didn't run to you at the door and was in a corner on the cell phone talking to another pet and said, "I'll talk to you when I'm finished talking to my friend over here," would the love be the same? Would we still love those pets if that pet had the option to talk, the option to leave the house when he or she wants, come home when he or she wants? So many folks, I ask, why do you have a pet? Well, the pet is always, he just loves me. He or she just loves me, and that's what I need. And let's be real, a pet a pet is a child forever until they get another child again. So again, I think it's a trend. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I don't know why people are staying away from relationships and taking the easy route. But it is definitely worthwhile a discussion we gotta look into and continue to talk about as these trends are as times changes in front of us.
And you're saying a trend as in what? I mean, is a trend not to have kids? You think?
I think not if we know social media plays a big role in today's society, and if someone starts not having kids, and I say to them, okay, Rihanna is having a lot of kids. The first answer I get, well, she can afford it. She can have a bunch of kids. So what's happening here? Is it she can afford a bunch of kids? I can afford a bunch of kids. It's
So
what? Go ahead.
let me say something about that, Rohan, because I think that's a population of people, right? There's a population of people who are out there saying that, because it's very clear to me that a whole bunch of people, and it must be the poor people who having a bunch of kids, right? They ain't stop having no kids. They ain't regulating themselves from having no kids. They look at Hispanic. Listen, listen. Look at it. I'm gonna give you a great example of this. Look at if you heard about the case in Orlando, in the Orlando area, where the young man took his dad's car. Dad got 37 years for him killing a grandma and 3 kids, and the only person survived was the granddad. Now check this out. The mom of them kids, right? Check this. She already got 2 more kids. So she lost 3 kids.
Right.
And she already now got 2 more. She done made 2 more kids. So some population of people and don't care about how much money they got or not got making kids. They trying to have family. And I think in a big sense of it, we might want to even look at this idea of people who are looking at saying, can I have a family without money? And I think that they may not believe they can do it in the Western world, right? Because they're looking at it in the wrong context. Yo, how do you think that, our ancestors made it? You think about some of our ancestors, like I'm gonna ask like boy Ed, and I know Ed can't talk, but I know that in any instances, my grandmother had at least 7 or 8 siblings. All right.
Right.
And that's just the ones from the mom, right? That's just the one from the mom. My granddad, he ended up having about about almost 10 kids, right? He had 10 kids, and all them kids had at least 1 or 2 kids at some point. The majority, so you're looking at and how did these people make it? How did they do it? Don't tell me it's more expensive now than it was then. Listen, it's always been a hard time for poor people. It ain't getting no better. But it doesn't, I think that is the intellectual people maybe saying, I'm not having kids because it's too expensive to have kids. Mm-hmm. Well, why? What is expensive about it? What is expensive and how is it expensive to have kids? What is it that you going to want to have that you can't have you have kids? You might not can get no Gucci tennis shoes and a Louis Vuitton purse, and you might not can ride in a Tesla. Those things, yeah, you might not be able to do those things because you got kids that you got to build another development. Are you do like, hey, there's many families that had kids and they made their kids find a way to work to bring money to the family.
Okay.
So I'm just saying that I think that sounds like a cop out to me. So now when people saying they're not going to have kids because of money, just say you don't want to. I respect the people who say they don't want to bring kids into this earth, into the world the way it is. But I'm saying that my issue with that is if y'all good people, what product do you think you're gonna bring? Your seed, the person that you create, may be the person to change the world. And that's the problem I think we have with people today. They don't believe in themselves enough to believe they can create somebody who will make a change in the world. What if Martin Luther King parents thought like that? What if Malcolm X parents thought? Listen, you just start thinking, you just pull people out of the woodworks and you're looking at their parents. What did their parents, if Jesse Jackson parents thought, we ain't gonna have no kids because it's too dangerous. Somebody gonna come and lynch him or kill him or that. They didn't do that. They had these kids and poured what they had into them. Not money. They poured what they knowledge and what they had into the kids. And that's what's important.
Okay, Ron, I think what we're not respecting, and this is what we have to, because I think sometimes we infringe on other people's right to choose, right? And I'm not talking about that in the abortion sense. I'm talking about that in the objective sense, where whatever your objective may be in life, we have to value a person's right to be afraid. You understand? And so if a person, because let's think about how many abortions did happen because people was afraid or wasn't ready. And so, and then we can't sit there and say, okay, I can't really criticize them. You understand? If I had an option, right? When I was coming up, we had a lot of abortion options. So if push came to shove, we could have that abortion and wouldn't have to really face that objective of who that kid may or may not be. You understand? So, and then we wasn't really conditioned or plugged into anything, any type of really strong value, right? To really foster the questions that you're asking right now. The questions that you're asking right now takes a lot of conditioning and discipleship and I mean almost miracles. You understand? To really answer that question you asked about what if the parents. I'm like, you're right, because look, those are two totally different kinds of parents. Those are parents who was ready to make the sacrifice versus parents who feel like being a parent may sacrifice their child. You understand? So you got to understand these parents are ready to make a sacrifice, but I feel like becoming a parent may sacrifice that child. So it is a big dynamic. It's a big difference. There's a big conditioning, right? And so the times will condition us in certain the adversity. And I love to do this because this is true. I think our parents lived in a stronger adversity university where we're going to adversity junior college, right? Again, they went to adversity university. We went to adversity junior college. And so when you look at the level of adversity, they had the opportunity, not even so much to be intentional, but it's their instinct that made them intentional. It's not like fight or flight, right? And their fight or flight circumstances that made their instinct more intentional. With us, we have a lot of privileges, and because they have those privileges, we function in that capacity to be privileged. And so when it comes to everything you guys just spoke about, I'm like, because we're privileged. There was no real sacrifice in our generations because we were recipients of the sacrifice made, not the proprietors of it. And so now that our children is even more privileged to those sacrifices, I think this is the outcome that we're facing right now. So yes, they're intelligent, they're educated, they're beautiful, they're wonderful, they're all that other good stuff, but they're not disciplined enough. And I'm going to say because again, the sacrifice is not really there, and so they're not disciplined enough. This is why you see them on every front trying to really fabricate movements, as opposed to, you understand, the sacrifice it takes to make something move. So you'll see us jumping on every movement. We're trying to make everything a movement, everything a movement. And that usually happens because, and then everything we try to make a movement, we try to compare it to a movement that was already done. And so because of that, again, no sacrifice. And so most of our movements are superficial because no real sacrifice. So everything becomes more superficial. There's nothing really, I don't want to say I mean, no generational threat per se. Our threats are more superficial in nature because we have the laws in place that our parents and our foreparents really fought for to put in place to really hold us up, right? Now, do we have to still fight to solidify those laws? Yes. But are we disciplined enough to make those sacrifices to really advance those laws? That's another story. And so you guys got to excuse me for veering off a little bit because my train of thought I just deviated somewhere. But as far as what you guys are saying when it comes to we chosen everything else to be parents to, or we're chosen other things to commit ourselves to. And this is not just, and let's just see it like this. This is, I think, where the clarity come in for me. The same thing we're doing with the same thing with substituting animals for children and calling them, what they call parenthetic children or something like that. Substitute children, that's the word I'm looking for. So when we can substitute animals for children and then refer to them like children and different things like that, well, it never stopped there because we do it in everything else. And so it just actually reached that level of children. But we were substituting husbands and wives for boyfriend and girlfriend. We were substituting being committed for being promiscuous. We were substituting procreation for recreation. You understand? So all of a sudden now everybody got a right to use procreation as recreation. And so I think the accountability falls on all of us. And until I think we ought to look for our accountability first in what's going on, and then try to use our narrative and how we may have contributed to what's going on to get them, you understand, to go on. If that make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, definitely does. And so with that being said, I just want to throw some of these statistics, not statistics, but some of the actual some things about when you're looking at the decision to not have children carries of various benefits, such as greater finance, freedom. You have more time for personal pursuits, as well as potential consequences. Look at kind of at the lack of family care in old age for some, or the overall impact of well-being in highly individuals. And so kind of looking at financial freedom, career advancement, personal time and freedom. When you don't have children, this idea that you have you have a stronger relationship. When you don't have to be rearing for children, you can spend all your energy with your partner. Listen, for women, they say you can have improved health. Your health could be improved Some studies say that women without children may have a longer lifespan and experience fewer health issues associated with pregnancy, so, such as gastro, diabetes, hypertension, kind of thing. This idea that you'll have low stress levels. You don't have kids, you have lower stress levels. Environmental impacts. Choosing not to have children is one of the most effective personal actions to reduce one's carbon footprint and stain on nature resources. That sounds, I don't know about that, because I mean, listen, if you think that you not having children helping the environment, I don't listen. It's not, because guess what? There's somebody having 3 kids that's gonna take up for the kid that you could have had.
Okay, Ron. Okay, here we are. We're talking about folks having children, reason why not having children, etc., etc. But let's go deeper. I drive a stick shift car. You press the clutch and change the gear, right? We know that less people are driving stick shift. It's just not happening. It's just a few set of people who are going to stick shift car and drive it. In fact, some people don't even know how to drive a stick shift car. Well, let's go deeper than that. We know that people are having sex at a higher rate. Still having sex, even in a time where everybody's busy. But we also know that people are popping the pill. Those pills weren't available years ago. So people are having sex, where you mentioned earlier in the program that they got married, they got engaged because the baby's on the way. What are we going to do? Well, those options are not on the table anymore. I can go take a morning after pill, and this problem or this issue is gone. I can go on social media. There are many sites that advertise these pharmaceutical devices that can do an early abortion. So it's not that they're not having kids. It's just that they're not getting pregnant. And that is something that is to think about, because then if you get pregnant, you're gonna go and try and work it out, try and work out the relationship, have the child, and go through the journey. But if you're not starting the race, if you're not in the race, well, what race are you gonna run?
We got a stat. I see. We have a question here. I gotta always get to the questions. It says, where are these stats coming from? It's not stats. These are just. I won't say they're stats. I'm gonna tell you where it come from. To be honest, the truth. Because I tell the truth. These stats are coming from AI, based on putting I put the topic in Google in the AI section to see what they would give me back as the result. So, I'm not saying percentages or anything. They're just presenting some of these things. The things we're talking about from our mouths are more of our opinions and feelings and expression as fathers. But as I answer that question, I'm going to go to what the potential consequences and challenges are that they offered here in the Google that came from the National Institute of blase. So they correlated this information. Lack of support in old age is one thing. Social isolation. So somebody said that social isolation, in the point that child-free adults may find it harder to maintain relationship with friends who have children due to the differing lifestyles. Some may feel left out of parent-focused social conversations. They talk a little bit about regret and unfulfillment for some. While some people may be happy with their choice, some people may come back later and have some, regrets about it due to the circumstances. They may experience some distress, depression, sense of regret, unfulfillment later in life. Social pressures or stigma. Some people will be saying, you don't got no kids. Why you ain't got? Listen, I know. Listen, let's talk about that old famous thing that people say, like, man, he 40 years old. He ain't had no kids.
Mm-hmm.
They say you must don't be swinging for that team or something. They got to think he 40 years old, ain't got no kids. I almost was in that category. 40 years old with no kids, So I can understand what people saying, but sometimes you can have a focus. Sometimes your focus don't come through until you want it to come through. And then the last thing they said is not having no legacy. Small numbers of child-free men in one study expressed the regret over not having a legacy. And I actually pulled this up because I thought that was something that we talk a lot about here at the Fatherhood Think Tank. Thank you again, Johnson, for your question. Hope that answered it. That we talk a lot about that. We talk a lot about it. I think that Ed talked about it. The idea of having a legacy and being able to provide for that legacy, and that these beings will take what from you and continue and give to the rest of the world. Listen, there's no powerful. Listen, and I'm like, boy, you probably can speak to. I think we all can speak to it at some point where our involvement with people, right? And I can probably speak about it more than anything else. My involvement with people is a powerful empowerment for my dad, right? I believe it also could be for my mom. I'm not, sometimes I don't know. I think it was. I think in the past it was. I believe it was. But for my dad, it is an empowerment tool of when the world that is so small that we live in, that I have affected somebody, and that he knows that person, and how that extends his legacy to like, hey man, let me tell you something about your son, or the vice versa of someone saying to me. And I know them, and they say, man, your dad saved my life when I was this and that. These kind of things are very powerful, I think, for you as an individual to help you stay rooted into your purpose of continuing a legacy and developing what a legacy is going to look like from you to your children is important. And I know you guys can speak. I know you can speak to the legacy component.
Well, I think, Ron, and I think sometimes, we, and again, this is just conditioning. Again, this is what we are. I'm talking about society. We really condition ourselves superficially, but not practically, right? And what I mean by that is you're talking from a reward standpoint, right? Everything you just said is reward based, right? And so, but just about 5 minutes ago, you was talking about from regret based. So how do you get from regret based to reward based? You understand? So what's missing is right in the middle, the resource base. And I think this is a fact. I'm a very, very, very close to being factual, and I'm going to say most successful people don't feel successful. And that doesn't, an average successful person will tell you they don't feel successful. And so, and being successful don't feel successful. You understand? Because to truly be, you got to understand success is truly a service and not a status. I remember I told you we're superficial by nature. I think today more social media exacerbate our superficiality. Before social media, I think we had a little bit more balance between being superficial and practical. And so with the age of social media, we tend to be a little bit more superficial than we are practical. And so because we think that success now is a status and success is being promoted and conditioned, if not reconditioned in our society as a status and not a service. And then this is why you got people saying the outlandish thing that they're saying. They're talking more towards the status of a thing than the service of it. We know that being anything is a service. Being a husband is a service. Being a father is a service. Being a mother is a service. Being anything and anything worth its grain or salt in society is a service. But the minute you try to project it as a or guess what? Or invest in it as a status. You don't get to give those kids back no more than you get to give that $5,000 dog back when you get sick and tired of taking care of it. I've seen a lot. Yeah. No, I'm serious, and that's the most heartfelt thing, because I'm like, that's still a life. And so you should not, and we was raised to not purchase anything that we're not going to be accountable for. And I mean that any person, place, thing, or idea that we're not going to be accountable for. And a lot of that is gone by the wayside because we don't really have the orientation. You know how everything you do have an orientation. I don't care if you're a part of a club, you start a job, whatever you do. And I don't think parents have that orientation, or we have that orientation as a relationship, because I don't even just drop it at parents. Even as couples, we don't have that orientation when it comes to each other. So how in the hell are our kids gonna ever get to where they need to be if we're not? We're scared to have the orientation with each other. So I know we ain't having the orientation with our children. And most of the times we have orientation with our children is out of the things we need them to fear in life, and not the things that actually will favor them in life. And so I think it's a lot of reconditioning that has to go on within our society, and we're gonna have to be ready and willing to do work. And understand that, listen, man, success is not a status, it's a service. And until you realize that, then you can go on and post as many pictures you are, just not gonna make your life better than what it is.
Interesting. Yep. But as we continue the journey of
Dr. Ron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just going to chime in. You know, there are stats for individuals who, like my auntie. I think about my auntie who she was married. Her husband passed away, but she never, remarried and never had children. And I don't think it was a choice for her not to have children, but it was just a circumstance that she was put in. And as far as legacy, man, there is no legacy because she has no children. If anything, the legacy is only my memory of her. So I think that needs to be factored in as well. That there are circumstantial situations where individuals just don't have an opportunity to create a legacy because they've never partnered with anybody to do so.
Hey, Ron, 10E. Welcome back, baby. You know we love you. And I miss seeing your face too. But but I think I was thinking about what you just said. And in the spirit, you're gonna love this, Ron. Ron, you're gonna love this. And in the spirit of Women's History Month, happy Women's History Month to all the women out there. But in the spirit of Women's History Month, there are so many legacies left behind that women have left behind that who didn't have children. And I think that's when I told you the reconditioning and exploring. And so I think sometimes we have to challenge those narratives, because I'm like, I would hope that Harriet Tubman is a legacy, and all those great women, and particularly Black women, who left legacies without children. You understand? Because their purpose, you understand, had so much. I mean, their purpose gave life so much passion versus the passion they received. And so I have an aunt in the same situation. My aunt, I'm like, of course my aunt legacy lays behind because she's a contributor to me. You understand? And yes, they talk about she didn't have no children. I'm like, yeah, she had a child. She had me. I was her child. And so, and she treated me as such. And I can touch 100 people at any given moment that will actually testify to the legacy that she is. And God forbid she pass on, and that will leave behind. So I don't think having a legacy is limited to just having children. I think having a legacy is how many births or how many people you assisted and allow them to give birth to their purposes and dreams and things in life. And so we have to not limit legacy to just biological birth, but the I guess the more logical birth that makes sense is what gives life to people. And I think it's more legacy in helping life than it is to actually giving life. Does that make any sense?
Makes a lot of sense, man. I appreciate that because, when I think about all the wisdom and input my auntie gave me as I was growing up, I guess I never took the time to look at that in and of itself as a legacy. So appreciate that word.
Listen. I listen again. I can't do anything but agree with you. And the thing about it is always an auntie, right? We have aunts, but my aunt and my uncle, my aunt and her husband, my aunt and uncle, they don't have any. I don't have cousins from that. But guess what? They are quintessential example of what married people look like to me, right? They are the pure example of living life for and with each other, right? And that can be a very strong benefit because you make a comparison, contrast to some other people who it's just like them and they haven't made it because they didn't have enough time. They didn't have the time, like they said, to really spend the time with each other to develop. Like listen, I just remember this little thing one time, like. My aunt would say, my mom would say something to my aunt about, oh, you're going to do this and do that. And my aunt would say, well, I got to check with my husband, right? And that used to be, and my mom used to make, my mom said little smart things like, she let him run a lot. But the reality is, I think that the importance of that is when you're a team, right? Mm-hmm. The team do not go and run audibles and do things different without checking with the teammates. And I think a lot of times people get into these relationships and like, so even get into marriages and they're running because they didn't become the University of Miami Hurricanes. They was just a whole bunch of people who came off the street and start playing as a football league. So everybody had their own objectives and missions and reasons for why they got on this team versus all the people said we came to be on this team, we came to sacrifice, and that's what we kind of see in that example. And you see, hey, they got these games. These games are horrible. Just saying the kids are. Let's say the games are, the game. They don't get to win a championship. They don't get to bask in that together. But the true example when you're looking at people who have made a decision. And their decision was not to have children. They made a decision not to. And that's some people's choice and right to do so. I think I agree with you 100%. But people have a right and choice to do whatever they want to do. And like I said, I have many friends who, and I was almost looking like I was going to be a person in that category. Right? I was going to be the listen. Even when I initially was working in this industry, I had no kids. I was just a therapist who was coming to working with fathers and I kind of looked I looked a little green because here I am trying to tell fathers something when I wasn't a father at all. I'm just telling them the therapeutic textbook stuff, and that's not realistic because how can I really get in there? I can tell them, but is it really real? Because I don't really know. Oh man, I remember. Without a doubt, times of men telling fathers about how they operate, what they should do, and how they can solve their problem. It's not that like you could do this and you could. Hey, listen, you don't know that because you ain't no father. You ain't got no partner like that. That old saying that we used to remember that, Rohan. I never understood why my dad was the way I was until I started having kids. Mm-hmm. And then now I understand. Well, my dad was the way he was with my mom and this and that. That kind of saying is one of those things. But somebody can tell you all the this and that and all that, but it's different. Even reference to two people having a relationship, you know, you got two friends who are not with kids and without kids, right? And friends with kids could be given to people friends without kids be giving to friends with kids advice on what to do. Listen, you can't really give that advice might not pan out, bro.
No, it can. No, I think no, it can, Ron. I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah, right.
Because you have, I think, one of the best sayings I ever heard. I heard it on one of the television shows. I can't remember what it was. When the guy said, "A smart man learns from his mistake. A smart man learns from his mistake, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others."
Mm-hmm.
And so, with that being said, I think that I'm gonna put it in the immigrant citizen standpoint. When you immigrant of a country versus the citizen, immigrants see things that will renew the way citizens should see it, right? And so I run into a lot of immigrants, and I think that the liberties and stuff I have granted and things that I could do, you understand? Because I am a citizen, I start to put obstacles in my own way on. It's not enough, you understand? And so when it comes to, I watch an immigrant come over here, and they would take whatever little opportunities they can get. And they make the most of everything. I guess that's what I'm really trying to say. And so I think where we get in trouble at is because we stop making the most of everything. We stop making the most of our opportunities. We stop making time, talent, treasure, all that stuff. And we stop to do that, you understand, is where the problems really start. And we start devaluing each other. You understand? So that's a lot. And again, I'm on a journey. I'm going to be on a journey probably until I die for this reconditioning, because there's so many missed opportunities. I had to really value humanity in the way it deserves to be valued. And I think I can, and that's my contribution to the problems that I'm charged, I have to fix, because that's my contributions to breaking it, right? So I can't speak from nobody else's contributions to the wrong that's in the world. I only can talk to my own. And so that's just one of the things I love. Even when I come on here, this is my contribution to giving back, because like the Bible says, in all things get understanding. These conversation helps me to get understanding in just about every aspect of life that we talk about on this thing. So you would think that I'm actually giving something, but I'm actually receiving more conversations than I'm giving, and that's the benefits of the Fatherhood Think Tank for me.
So as we go along this journey, here we are. We are fathers who are empowering other fathers and fathers to be. But we talk about benefits and consequences. Benefit is something that benefits you, the society, people in whole. Consequences are actions that people do that come with consequences. So let's follow the journey. We're talking about folks who are, for men, we can always be fathers. If I'm correct, some men are fathers even in their 80s. They're able to impregnate someone and get them pregnant. But for a woman, it's a different story. There is a biological clock. And in some cases, that can be altered with IVF. But not everyone can afford that, the IVF procedure. So we're talking about the time gap for a woman to have a child versus a male. Yeah? As a society sees it today, hey, you know what, I'm not having a child. It's not that important to me. But I'll say this to everyone who's listening on this medium. We all have something that we value. That's important to us. Let's just put it that way. And what I see is a society changing. Maybe it's a car, maybe getting an apartment, getting a career. Just the shift away from having children. But let's keep this real. We talk about people who I call FIP. And FIP are formally important people. They had a job where they were administrator, they were executive director, they were director of nursing, and now you're being told you're over 50, you need to go to a retirement home. So you're in a retirement home, and some folks take the badge off their door and bring with them. They said, here's the badge. I was a director of a facility. Now it's on a wheelchair. And this is the journey we're talking about. So let's continue. You're in a situation where you're either forced to be in or you're dropped off. Come holidays, you see family members coming. My grandkids, everybody's talking about their grandkids and their kids, drama, and there's some folks who can't talk. They have their badge on their wheelchair, sitting there, and here comes my best friend in the community with his grandkids. Christmas, they're gone for dinner, and I'm here sitting down. I really want everyone on this program and out in the world to think about the choices. As I think Ron and I talk about it, we make choices, but necessarily not all the time we choose the consequences of our choices. Having children is not a bad thing. It's work. And as the Bible talk, make hay while sunshine, many people just don't want to do the work. Everybody wants the easy button. You know, you press that button. I know you guys remember that old ad. You press that button, it's an easy button. But life really don't come with an easy button. Most of the stuff we have to do as men, women, we have to put in the work. And making choices that are easy come with those consequences. And let's do the numbers. Simple. Okay, you don't have kids. So you have a house, correct? You have a house. I bought a house. I bought a luxury car. I got 2 pets. So I'm fine. I'm good. The pets love me. The society see me in a nice car. I have a house. So I'm good, right? Let's continue. The car will get old. It will reach a junkyard at some point. It was just new at the time you bought it, and like most things, it goes to the junkyard. You did not have any. You choose not to have any children, as Mr. Tei mentioned, for different reasons. But let's continue. You work hard all your life. You know what happened to that house? You didn't have a sibling. Something happened and you happen to expire. Who gets that house? The state gets that house. It goes to the state. All the years you work hard, maybe 2 jobs, you were FIP, it goes to the state. The state gets your house that you work hard for. Just that simple. Even the car. You want to laugh? Even your bank account. How about that? Your bank account, your car goes to the state because you chose not to have a child. So many people are making these decisions not knowing what's the end game. Where does this end when we become FIP? Because at some point, all of us are going to become FIP.
Rohan, I got to disagree with you, and here's why.
That's fine.
I just had a blessing of a magnitude. My daughter, who just started work 5 months ago, just rebuilding her life and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. She was saving to buy her first car. Her aunt didn't have any children. Her aunt passed away, and her aunt left that car in the will for her. That's what you call legacy, Rohan, and not Ron, but Rohan. Mm-hmm. Legacy is being intentional with your life to help somebody else's life. And again, it's not limited to what child you didn't have. It's unlimited to how many people you can help when you're here and when you're gone. And so I thought that was going to be the biggest of the blessings, because we was rejoicing, we were praising God and everything that, wow, the money you save right now that can transition into money to help you buy a better car 4 years from now. But it's still a fairly good car because, the car was she left a car that's under 40,000 miles. Right. And so it's fairly new. And so just that blessing alone was a legacy that we didn't even see coming. And then she did better than that. She went higher and better than that. And I thought we was rejoicing and thinking, man, this is a miracle. And then the miracle showed up. You understand? And so what I'm trying to tell you is, here it is, a woman with no children end up being a miracle in my child's life. I just need to be very clear about that. And because I am a recipient of that, I have to advocate harder in these conversations to push back on that narrative that the legacy, because her legacy actually changed our life. She just recently passed away. And her legacy legitimately and legally, and all of that holistically changed the lives of 3 separate households. That's a fact.
Right.
So legacy is not limited to children. You understand? Legacy is unlimited to the lives that you change. And I truly thank God for her life, because she was able to change our life in depth, more than she did when she was alive, and I'm grateful for her.
And I'm glad you brought it up, because as a male, as a father, we know that many of us don't have what they call healthcare advocate, power of attorney, or even leaving a will, just a simple will, just to say what would like to happen in our when we leave this earth, so to speak. So that, Lightburn, thank you for bringing that up, because then it goes to show that numbers don't necessarily lie. There are cases where someone wrote a will, put in their family member or a friend to carry on, and there are some people who didn't have the opportunity, right? So the most I'll say here is that it's just that benefits versus consequences. At this point in your life, you can say, "Hey, I don't need a child. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm okay the way I'm living now. I'm going for the career. I'm going to compete against AI. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be on social media. I'm going to follow everyone on social media and show that I'm doing well." But as we know, the journey, like everything else, the journey will come to an end, and we have to make some really serious decisions about our lives. All of us, all men, women, and even children, because we're here for a reason. And I'm not saying we're here to reprocreate. Let me make that clear. I'm just saying that we choose our destiny, and it needs to be. We need to take it very seriously as we go forward. Right now in Broad County, we have schools are closing down. I live in Florida, and what's causing that? Low birth rates. That's
No. It's not low birth rates that's causing that.
It's on the list. I did not.
No. Let's be honest.
It's on the list.
But that's not the cause. The cause is the change in the policy of education.
Okay.
When you tell people that, hey, you can start any kind of school you want and get the money for it, so I can open up a school and get about 20 kids and be making buku money with just those 20 kids, that's causing the schools to close, because you moving the what was a central location, you making it satellites. So you got all these satellites all over the place.
Okay.
And the number of kids ain't changing. The kids and the birth rate ain't low.
But statistics show that it's wrong.
It was low.
I know we get that. Birth rate has been low.
But Ron is right. In the policy changes, you got two things. I'm gonna let team please kick in when you can. Two things in policies. You got school choice, that's number one, and charter schools, that's number two. He's 100% right on that. And so once the installation of the establishment of school choice, or the expansion of school choice and school charter, that's where all your problems started. I'm gonna leave it right there. Go ahead, Tini.
Oh, I have nothing to add on that one. I do agree with some of the points that Rohan was saying, and I definitely appreciate your example of your auntie. I would dare say that is unusual, though. I think that example you gave of your auntie passing on her car, I think that's a special circumstance. I think as a culture, that is something that should be applauded and highlighted, but it's not. I think we kind of dropped the ball with passing on legacies like that. Whatever inspired your auntie, I think that was just extremely special. You're not going to see that a lot.
It should be normal. I agree.
I know, but I think that the reason why, and let's be very clear, is because even when I showed you the statistics of what the benefits and what the consequences was, one of the things is when you don't have to be worrying about other people, you have a lot more time to worry about yourself and the stuff that you're going to take care of, right? So there's some people who can take care of, there's some dynamite people who can say, I can do everything, and I'm gonna take care of these kids. I'm make sure everybody get doctor's appointment, all these things. But there's something you're gonna miss. But when you have a lot more, I've been dealing with a lot of people who've been dealing with this a lot lately. The idea of once having a slave schedule and then not having that anymore, right? Mm-hmm. I'm using that terminology to be facetious, but when the sun rises, you already working all the way to the sunset, and leave you a little bit of time to handle anything that ain't related to that kind of work. Whereas sometimes when you don't have to do when your time is off, guess what? Your time is off, and that time is for you to work on you don't got to work on the stuff you wasn't able to get done for the family, for the kids, for this and that. You are able to work on things for yourself and for maybe your husband and your wife, and in that case, really organize things without having to worry about other people or thinking about responsible for anybody but yourself and others. And that makes it a half a dozen, 6 type of a situation. And I was saying, and kind of capturing this conversation tonight, there is not a right or wrong way in the idea of if I have children or don't. It's really depending on what you do with your life. And I think that Ed made it very clear. Legacy is what everybody's thinking about, not just people with children. Or maybe Ed said it through Rohan. I don't want to get it right accreditation, but a legacy.
No, that was Lightborn. Lightborn clearly explained, that legacy does not just end with that individual. So
right, and so it doesn't have to be. I know that we come from a narrative of looking at legacy as fathers to our children, but overall, every individual person has an opportunity to leave a legacy. And how they leave that legacy is important and can be beneficial. I'm going to tell you, some of the people who have put many kids, many students, families, and really move people to the next level have been people who didn't have children. Mm-hmm. They had abundance of finance, and they utilize that finance to better help the world. Mm-hmm. Where sometimes when you got a big family, you can't help the world. You gotta be helping your children and hope that they're not fighting over the little bit of stuff that you got left when you get up out of here. If you don't have the time to organize it and say who get what and get this and get that, because sometimes it is a hustle and bustle world we live in. So I don't want anybody to feel like, hey, we were saying one is good and one other is bad. I think we just wanted to bring a conversation to the floor tonight about, hey, there are benefits and there are consequences to the idea of if we don't have children. And I can, I definitely, as a person who spent that large, at this point, I really spent, in the percentage, I spent 40% of my life childless, right? So the majority of my life, and I got friends who didn't even make it to 40. So, I lived a life of childlessness and knowing what it was like and how it allowed me to continue to just become a lifetime student, a lifetime learner, not have to worry about doing anything. I could run to do things, but it also allowed me the opportunity to be a person that could provide for other people. I was able to do a lot of stuff for other people because I didn't have the commitment that I had to think about, what my child need or what my partner need. I could do it. I was that in the gap person. I could be the gap at any time for anything. And so I've also seen people who can't be any of that because they're too busy having to be the gap for their family and for their side. They don't got time to gap anybody outside their house because the kids alone is taking. Listen, sometimes just your partner is taking up a lot for you to hold the gap in. So talking about somebody outside your house.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Let me push this on him. Let me run this on him real quick, Tina. You got it, and we could do a nice little vote on this. Since and because I'm a married man myself, so I have to actually suggest this. I think that because of your recent new circumstances, you understand. Tini, Ron got engaged. I meant to tell you that. Oh, Ron, you do know Ron got engaged, right?
I'm aware.
Okay, so Ron got engaged, and if we're gonna be truly your brothers and all that other stuff, I think that we may have to cut the Fatherhood Think Tank down to at least twice a week, if once every 2 weeks, as opposed to then you run afoul of neglecting your wife and your circumstances. So not let anything neglect this blessing. You have an accountability to that, and make sure that you put her. Of course, God is first, but in the natural, you put her first. So I would suggest that in general, make sure that your wife is a priority. The Fatherhood Think Tank will be here. We would definitely be on here to support this, but make sure that you cut out enough time in your schedule for your significant other. I can tell you that because I love you. You understand? And I want you to have a successful marriage. So you're going to have to figure out what that priority, you and her can sit down and figure out what that priority look like. Now that we're talking, because you're the one who came up on this topic, you just remind me of it. So, from brother to brother, I just want to see you be successful in everything you do. And this will be here. So congratulations, man. And you guys will sit down and figure out what that looks like.
I'll put in my part real quick. Relationships is not hard. It's all about communication. And I'll make it clear. Work together, play together, rest together. You can have a beautiful relationship. That's what I have to say.
Oh, I thought Ed was gonna say something. Well, listen.
Oh, just congratulations, man. That is awesome. Listen, do your thing. Love on that woman. Let her love on you. And what do they say? The rest will follow.
Right.
There you go.
And listen, I think that Rohan, I think you said the right thing. Communication is a key and is important and a big part. But I don't think that I'm the one who has to, I'm the one who has a lot more time in this relationship. So just, a lot of time, I have a lot more time. And again, 90 minutes is not a lot in 30 minutes, especially if it can, listen, let me say this. I think that it's not a lot if it can help you recenter yourself to be better for your relationship. I think where we sometimes go astray is we say, I'm going to cut all this stuff out so I can focus so much on this relationship and move away from what made you get to the relationship and what made you strong to be in a relationship. And because they sometimes recognize it, right? And sometimes they don't want to. They're like, well, you don't do this no more. Are you spending all your time hanging? It's nice at first, but you also not getting the knowledge that you need to continue to develop and build. And again, listen, you understand, if they watch if your significant other watch the show, like boy, clearly, you have a whole bunch of conversations about that. Just in reinforcing your own relationship, because sometimes you don't know sometimes we say stuff and we don't even right. I'm still getting the residue of the word. What was the word I used a couple weeks ago when you told me you said, and I said people were saying I was melancholy. That word, goddamn melancholy, it came up so many times. And I keep saying that people felt like I was melancholy. I didn't say I was melancholy. Right? People said I responded melancholy, but that's not that. I'm not melancholy about the situation. I think it's more that how I am, my personality about things, and I don't like that kind of attention. So I won't be like doing certain things a certain way that some people do. Some people love to, Some people like.
I guess what I was saying is, I'm only suggesting balance. So I didn't tell you to throw anything away. It's not an either or thing.
Oh no. Yeah.
It's on how do you understand? Remember, I told you listen. You're in something that the priorities. You got number one. You got to sit down and figure out talk about what the priorities look like. Number two, because guess what? You're gonna if you guys and if God's will for you guys to be husband and wife, she ought to care about you. You understand?
Mhm.
Like you ought to care about you. So if she see something where you may think something may be healthy. See, I mean, you see, you think because people who doing good or trying to do good always think their good is healthy. You understand? That's why you need that outside. You understand? I know that you getting engaged is healthy. That I know for a fact. The problem is you're not used to that type of exercise. So you're used to the exercise and the healthy lifestyle that you're used to. You're getting ready to embark on a whole new healthy lifestyle. And what I'm trying to say is I don't want one healthy lifestyle to cancel out another. That's all I'm saying. So that's where the balance comes in at.
Hey, food for thought for the future. That's what I always say. Food for thought for the future. Well, with that being said, guys, we ran. I think we ran our time. We right on course for our time frame. I want to just say, hey, thank you guys for another awesome conversation. I think that without no doubt, these conversations are beneficial to not just us but our society overall. Just want to, before I say the chant, I just want to shout out to our sponsors and give them the uplift that they deserve. So first sponsor, I want to just send out to Jag, attorney at law. He probably had a big case tonight. That's why we ain't seeing. He got working on some big cases, because I know he would want to get in this conversation. Jag, attorney at law, Miami-Dade, Broward County, West Palm Beach. If you're looking for attorney in the South Florida region, you can go look up Jag, attorney at law, Johnny A. Gaspar, Esquire, j.gaspar at jag1law.com. Phone number 305-827-8087. If you want to check the website out, www.jag1.com. And he is a proud member of the Fatherhood Think Tank and a big sponsor to our shows. Next, I want to definitely send a shout out to another one of our from the beginning sponsors. That is Omega Psi Phi Zeta Chi chapter of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They have been a sponsor from the beginning. They continue to be supportive of the show. The bossless Von Howard, he's coming up here, and I think this week I'm going to spend some time with him. So can look forward to that. And shout out to that sponsor, Zeta Chi chapter, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Our next sponsor, just to let you know that Fatherhood Think Tank is international. It's not just the United States, it's international. Zeta Xi new chapter, Lagos, Nigeria. So we have those brothers out there all over the Nigeria and all over the country watching, supporting that. Another one of our international sponsors, the Nigerian Qs, as they call themselves. I want to thank them for being here and always supporting. With their support, we also have our another local. So we got the South, and we also big up here to the north. We have also the Q-Landa, Philly Qs in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we got all the South Florida, all the Philadelphia, Mid-Atlantic area supporting, watching the Fatherhood Think Tank, supporting us. So we want to thank that chapter for sponsoring us as well. We try to have much, and I always want to give the praise to the people who are putting us and helping us and supporting us. And I just want to say again to brother, if you are feeling like at some point you need a little bit more conversation after our conversation, don't hesitate to reach out to the Fatherhood Call Center and helpline for dads. It's 1-877-4-411. It's offered by the Fatherhood, the National Responsible Fatherhood Clearinghouse and Fathers Incorporated. So if you look in, you take down that number. If you can always try to reach out to me. My number is 305-360-4822. And I'll try to put you in any connection, any place you're looking for, our resources that you may have. But definitely that is it. And then the last thing before we go out, if you find yourself being, chilling on a Thursday night, and you want to look into something a little bit about Black marriage and family, we have a Black marriage and family show here on YouTube. Two great co-hosts, ladies are fantastic, and myself. Two Thursday nights at 8:00 on the YouTube page for father, mentor, educator, therapist, Black Father YouTube page. You can go there and you can check it out. We're gonna have an interesting topic for the next couple of weeks. Found this guy talking about, the kind of sort of information about why men and women relationships kind of don't work. And we're going to go through the statistics that he gathered and kind of break it down from our point of view. So again, Thursday night, if you're interested, check it out.
Ron, sorry to interrupt. You have a link for that? I see. Do you have a link for it that could send in the group? We could keep in mind and send to other fathers or so forth.
Yeah. I'll share the link. I'll put the link in. I'll put the link.
Okay.
I'll put the link in our chats and all those.
Hey Ron.
Yeah.
My wife done started the chant already. She in the back talking about I am.
Yeah, I'm sure she is. See that's the balance we talk. That's the kind of balance you're talking about right there. I got you. So with that, I just want to throw those things out here. Let you know that's some of where we're at. And then with that being said, thanks everybody for joining us again. And Father, repeat after me. I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I say I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship
Fathers.
We always live strong, keeping our kids on our arm and our families on our backs. And we'll see you again here next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank, where we spend the time for fathers talking about father issues with fathers, for fathers, about fathers, with some awesome fathers. We look forward to seeing you again here next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank. Thank you for everybody who joined us, and we can't wait to see you again here next week. Thank you, two guys, for coming on out. Give you all a round of applause for always being loyal and being here. And we will definitely see you again next week at the Fatherhood Think Tank. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, fam.